Is this a start of a trend where we might be getting HD600S2, HD650S2, HD800S2? Oh god, my savings. Hello and thank you for clicking on this video. I'll be sharing my experience with the Sennheiser HD660S2. Before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Sennheiser for lending this sample unit for me to make this video. Rest assured they will have no influence over my feedback and I'll be returning this back to them after my video, which is sad because I really enjoy listening to these, although they have some aspects to consider. Before I talk about them, I'd just like to say if you've been enjoying my content, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and I also have a Patreon account if you'd like to consider supporting me and the channel. All of your support is very much appreciated. Without further ado, let's talk about accessories. And if you purchased a Sennheiser in recent times, you know what to expect. Just comes in a cardboard box, the sleeve pouch wrapping the headphone, and two cables, one with a 4.4 termination and another with 6.35 termination with a 6.35 to 3.5mm jack converter, and that's it. Sometimes I wish we would get that old school Sennheiser unboxing experience with the case, because the cardboard box doesn't do what it carries any justice. For the design, the 600 series headphones remains largely the same, if not identical with one another, with one or two tweaks to the design, and this headphone is no different. I personally own the HD650 and I'll talk about my qualms with the design on that headphone in another video, but this headphone, the matte black, the copper color like Sennheiser logo on the side and the wordings, is actually a nice touch. Is that phrase same but different? And actually all the 600 series headphones from Sennheiser embodies that. I don't personally own the HD660S, but if this photo is any indication of how it looks in real life, I'm going with the HD660S2. It doesn't stand out too much, which is great, yet that logo standing out a little just gives you a little flex. For fit and comfort, the Sennheiser HD600 series headphones are notorious for their clamping force, fresh out of the box. However, after a few usage and the headband starts loosening up a little, this is going to be a very comfortable headphone to wear. Those plush ear cups just sits around your ear, and with the soft cushion on the headband and its lightweight, I can wear this for hours no problem. However, these ear cups, while comfortable, can get a little hot, especially during summer. For the sound, if there is one word I can use to describe this headphone, it would be effortless. For me personally, even if I'm cranking this to 1 o'clock dial on my Hi-Fi EF400, it is still, for me, a quite relaxing sound presentation, which in itself could be a great thing or a bad thing. Let's break it down. For the bass, okay, when you're talking about bass in the HD600 line of headphones, they're almost non-existent, in a way that there's bass, sure, but it's only there for your information, rather than being engaging. That's always been my gripe with the HD650, and it is still to this day. The Sennheiser HD660S2's bass, while it's not something that will satisfy bass hits, comparing with the HD650, which I personally own, there is a significant difference between the two, and it is enjoyable. Not a lot of sub bass, but where there's more bass is in the mid bass. That impact, the slam, is still not brain smacking, soul crushing thumps, but it is enough to be engaging and it brings some fun to the music. I personally could use a little bit more bass, but I feel it's tuned in a way that it doesn't impact the rest of the frequencies. Let's talk about mid-range. This is where this headphone shines best for me personally. In addition to that added bass, vocals sounds clear, full, they're placed in front of the instruments, yet the overall mid-range position is not too forward, still a step forward, but it's in a good distance where it presents an intimate, lush session. It's just at the right position where you could hear the song as a whole, yet the depth and distance between instruments and vocalists are established. In fact, this is what I wanted from the HD650, but didn't know it until I heard the HD660S2. For treble, Sennheiser is famous or infamous, depending on who you are, for their treble depending on their headphones. Some may find them a little harsh, some love it. I feel they tamed it just a tad on the HD660S2, so it doesn't sound harsh or sibilant for me, even though I'm turning up the dial on my Hi-Fi EF400. Again, I'm coming from the HD650 and I know it's supposedly raised from the 660S, it's still tamer in comparison with the HD650. There's enough bite from female vocals, there's enough air for instruments, though my favorite instruments, the trumpets, while they have enough air to their sound, they still lack that note clarity due to how this headphone is tuned. It's not as sharp or distinct as they could be. However, I feel this is always the difficult balance to achieve between getting enough treble extension without attributing more harshness to the overall sound profile, and the treble on the HD660S2 helps in my summary on the sound presentation. Relaxed. For soundstage imaging and resolution, position of sounds on the left and right is good, and while separation is good, they're not the best I've heard. They're also not the most detailed headphone as well. There's detail for sure, but of course, with this line it's hard not to bring the reference model into play. At least for me, it would be the HD650. That headphone has a little bit more detail coming through due to how it's tuned. The HD660S2 sounds a little more blended together, but to the benefit of its sound presentation. The soundstage is just about average in depth and width, which again is great for what it's trying to present. Everything mentioned earlier just lends itself to the overall presentation that I described earlier. Just a relaxing, smooth sound presentation. For EQ, trying to EQ this headphone made me understand why they tuned this headphone the way they did. I can make this headphone have a lot more bass or sub bass, but I lose all that clarity. I can give it more treble extension, but now I'm crossing over to the realm of harshness. Their tuning is deliberate and it's careful. It can still do what you want it to, but it's saying you'll lose the HD660S2's identity, and I respect their stand on that. For source, this is a 300 ohm headphone, so it does take a bit of power. On my HiFiMan EF400, I'm going to about 1 o'clock on the dial, and there are very minimal gains as you turn up the volume dial, such as more bass, but you're also getting a little bit more treble, so I'd say the 1 o'clock dial is where it would be for the sound I've described. So to sum it all up, this headphone puts me in a place where I've never considered before. I've always been seeking for headphones with that special something, be it bass, mid-range or treble, and this headphone sits in that fine line of providing everything you'd need to hear from your music, but never going too far into a specific realm. I could get lost in time listening with this headphone, and that could be a good or a bad thing depending on what you're trying to listen to. The best analogy I could describe this experience is like shopping in a supermarket. There's music in the background and it's just accompanying you as you go about your day. But once in a while when it plays your favorite tunes, you just happen to bob your head without even knowing you're doing it. It doesn't stop you in your tracks, it doesn't try to make anything shine. The Sennheiser HD660S2 just plays music for you and it plays it well. I'm actually pretty sad that I have to return this because I could never find a reason to put on the HD650s, but I find myself seeking the HD660S2, especially when I'm doing work. Interpret that however you like. With that all said, that concludes my experience with the Sennheiser HD660S2. Once again, I'd like to thank Sennheiser for this opportunity. However, I'm curious to know your experience as well. Do you still prefer the HD600, HD650 over this, or will this be the new reference? Comment below, let me know. And with that all said, till the next experience, happy listening.